Hi, everybody. This is Pastor Charlie, and it is Wednesday, the 22nd of February. I can't believe I'm saying that. I've been joined by my friend today. You will all recognize Derrick Scott III, who is the co-lay leader of our conference. He heads up Derrick is at the digital ministry of campus.
It's Studio Wesley, which is the digital campus ministry, and that's about all I got right now because we're still figuring out what we are.
That's all we need. Hey, to our church, I really thought that instead of just having my face or Pastor Carey's face, as you do every week on one of these videos, it would be good to invite a friend to help us reflect through those questions that we put out with our digital service after the sermon on Sunday morning. So I've explained what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks to Derrick. He knows that we're here to talk about the Wesley Covenant Prayer. And Derrick, I'd love to just ask you in the quick version, what is how do you react when you see the Wesley Covenant Prayer? How do you enter into praying it?
Yeah, it is always an opportunity to recommit, to re-acknowledge, not simply that I am a follower of Jesus, but I'm a follower of Jesus in a very specific tradition. And for me, that just is really important. The specific tradition, this legacy of John Wesley and the movement that he started and the kind of Christians that has produced in the world. When I say the Wesley Covenant Prayer, it's both my yes to Jesus and my yes to Jesus in this particular stream of Christianity, for us, United Methodism, which is a part of the larger Wesleyan family. So for me, that's what it's super important, and it always is a beautiful opportunity to say, yes, I'm still here for that. That's my story. I don't know how other people will resonate with that, but
that's cool. We've spent a lot of time thinking about that these last few weeks, and one of the things that we've said a lot on the way through is that this is a prayer that is hard to pray and actually mean and live into as well, because it opens us right up, right, in terms of commitment unto God, in terms of yielding a certain sense of control of our lives, like we're yielding that to God's ways and God's purposes. So on Sunday, what I said to the church in my sermon was that I believe we can only pray this prayer in the strength of the God who has given God's self to us first. And I highlighted how I saw that in the words of this prayer, that final clause where it reads, you are mine, I'm yours, so be it. So this idea that God has given God's self fully to the world, fully to you, I mean, how does that sit with you whenever you hear that?
Oh man, it's a gift. And I just want to name that there is a way that I think about that line and its implications that's very relational, that God, in all of God's godness, is sort of saying, like, here I am.
Yeah.
It also then requires me to respond, right? And again, it feels like a gift and it feels like an invitation where God is saying, there is no part of me that is off limits to you.
Yeah.
There is no part of me that I'm holding back and saying, which as an Enneagram 5, you need to understand, that is just crazy to me. Like, how does one, even a God, how does one not hold back? Like, you have to reserve some of that. And here is God saying, there is not any part of me that I am holding back from you. Yeah. And I could go on and on about that, but the piece that I'm challenged by, even as we were thinking about it and just getting ready for this conversation today, I want to be careful that I don't limit it to the relationship that I have with God, in the sense that I wonder how much more there is to learn about God and to get to know about God that doesn't just look like me and God being buddies, me and God being in relationship, and because I think there's a more expansive view that might be available. And it just, again, I'm just speaking for me right now. I'm just thinking about the ways that sometimes I might limit how God might want to show up in my life. And again, this is where I hear God saying, there is nothing in me, nothing about me that is off limits to you. And so I also have to then be open to the ways that God may show up in my life that don't look like the forms and the frames that I have been used to.
Yeah.
So it's all of that's going on in there. When I think about particularly that phrase, and this idea that God has given God's self fully to humanity, all kinds of implications then for how I think about evangelism and connecting with people and the ways that I think God wants to show up in other people's lives. But that's like a little bit there. So,
Well, I think that's huge. I actually think that there's a huge question for us all to sit with, which really is to come back and just say, well, what are the God limiting views of God that we hold to, and
yeah.
how can praying a prayer like this help to break those down? I think that's a really good thing. Okay, so second question that I threw out to our church people on Sunday morning in our digital service was this. So that whole idea, you are mine, I am yours, so be it. Like with all of that and all that you've just said about that, is this still a hard prayer to pray, this covenant prayer? When we consider that God has given God's self to us, is it still a hard prayer?
Hard only in the sense that, this prayer, I've been praying it for the better part of 20 years, probably more than that for sure, 20 plus years. I kind of know it by heart.
Mm-hmm.
It gets sing-songy when I pray it now. I've actually tried to pray different versions of it to get out of the sing-songiness of it. And there's a value in like that I know it so well that like I can, kind of, and then there's this other thing, this where it gets hard to pray it. I don't want it to just be this prayer that I pray by rote. I want to say by heart. I want to continue to say it by heart, but I want it to be truly by heart, which means that I have to go back to it and you gotta say it this way, get back into it.
Yeah.
Like, I love it that you all are talking about this prayer, because what it gives us an opportunity to do is to step back into the prayer and put it on again and let it fit differently. And so that's where it's a little hard, is that, when it says to be brought low for you, I got to put that on I'm putting it on in a different way at 42 than I did at 38. I put it on differently as a digital campus minister than I did as a on-the-ground campus minister who knew everything about everything that I was doing. I don't know what I'm doing right now.
Right.
I put it on differently. All of the whole prayer, I put it on differently, even as a lay leader in this moment in United Methodism and in our conference. So I think that's where it is hard, because it fits different now. It hits different now.
Right.
But again, that just to me feels like the recommitment. That's the not being said by rote, that it's the invitation to say this by heart. And in the same way that God offers God's self to me and to us, and there's no part of God's self that is off limits. I am constantly at a place where I'm asking, is there any parts of my life that are off limits to God?
Yeah. I think that's this prayer I think that's why it's hard, because it digs deep. And that's why on Sunday morning, I said at the end of our service and the end of this series, we give everybody like a large sort of printed version of this. I said, like, stick it on your mirror, stick it on your fridge, put it somewhere you're going to see it every day. And when you see it, the challenge was to stop whatever else you're doing. If it's in the kitchen, don't burn anything, okay? But stop what you're doing and actually prayerfully, slowly make this prayer your prayer. And, it's not that I've got an end goal in sight, but I just said, church, as we pray this prayer, just watch. In a year's time, when we look back, we're going to be able to see, rank me with whom you will. I ended up with these people because I started like praying that prayer, and it reshaped me because none of God is closed off for me.
Charlie, just the part of I am no longer my own.
And
I'll just juxtapose it next to the ways that I am learning more and more about myself.
Yeah.
And that, identity and labels and uniqueness, and that is sitting right up next to I am no longer my own. And both are works of discipleship. Learning more and more about how God has created me is a part of the journey of discipleship, and then saying, you've created me like this, and that is not just mine. That doesn't belong to me, even though that's who oh my gosh, like that idea right there. It's like it's hard, but it's beautiful. Yes, oh my gosh.
Oh, listen, I wish we had like so much more time to sit and talk about this, but we've already ran over our time.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No. It's my fault too. Listen, this was rich. Oh. So Derrick, thank you. Your memorial family up here in Fernandina Beach, we love you. We're praying for you. We hope to see you
y'all
again.
Y'all are my people. I miss you.
Thank you.
See you, man.